Hello, how you doing? It's Charlie Davis here, and welcome to PAW, Painting Animals in Watercolor. Today's lesson will be painting a Sheltie. He goes by the name of Cameron. This is geared towards a beginner, and at the same time, if you're not a beginner, it's just another way to learn how to paint animals. You'll be seeing how I transfer the sketch to watercolor paper, and then from that point on, you'll see every brush stroke that I take from start to finish and everything in between. That includes the mistakes that will happen. Just know that right up front, you're going to make mistakes. Not a big deal. There's ways of correcting them and adjusting them. And I will show you how I go about that. Specifically, watch for the eyes. Just sit back, take a deep breath. It's okay. You can do this. Take care. Okay, so now that we have this all sketched in, I left the drawing, the sketch transfer on the back. I don't need the light board at this point. I turn off my computer, that's why it's not getting power. So anyway, I'm going to be trying out for the first time Ecoline's 416, which is their Sepia liquid watercolor. And I'm going to be outlining the sketch in the sepia just to give it a little bit of base color below. So I'll be going over what I sketched out. I know it's a little counterintuitive as to why did you end up doing that. I had a little piece of fur. My cat was just on the table. I thought I cleaned it all off. Dory. So here's my sepia. And here's a mix of sepia and Prussian blue that will make a grays when I need it. That's carried over from another painting. There's still some fur. Ironically, I'm painting a furred animal, and I have fur on my brush, which, by the way, is the Silver Black Velvet 300S, number 4 round. And I'm going to also put a little base on the eye. But you'll see what I'm going to do here. I'm going to darken it in, trying to preserve that highlight if possible. If not, we can go back in with some Chinese white gouache. Okay, so let that sit for a second and then dab. There we go. Get a nice little base of color. Not too dark, but just enough. And you can see I went into the highlight a little bit here, but that's okay. I'll be able to pull that out. All right, give that a second. Make sure you got a clean spot on your paper towel. And dab. Don't rush or pull. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to go in, outline where since this is a technique that old masters used to do. It's kind of an underpainting. It allows you to take this when it's dry, and for me at least, it gives me the option to add some shadowing when I'm painting the actual color I want. So this part slightly tedious again, just like when you are outlining from the sketch below, but part of the process. Dip into here. This brush holds a lot of water, paint combo, depending on how you pull the brush. You can get really fine lines, or you want to establish something that gives a bit of a shadow, you can just lay the brush down at the side a bit. So this, I'm just following what I already sketched out. I suppose you could question, I'm sure somebody's asking, why don't you just do this part when you have it on the whiteboard? Well, in case you need to, or at least for me, in case I need to change the sketch. I usually, after I do the sketch, I leave it for till a little bit later in the day, look at it again, see if I need to make any adjustments to it. So here, this is going to be mostly dark. Look how that came out. There. See, that's the other thing. If you make a mistake, you can dab. I don't want that as dark as I have it. You can dab with a clean piece of paper towel, tissue, cloth, rag, whatever you're using. Alright. Just go in here. By the way, no. So hopefully you can see what I've been doing there. I'm going to zoom it in when I edit. Try to keep my hand out of the way as much as possible. I'm going to do this entire video live, recorded, not hiding anything as much as I can. Obviously, I'm going to make mistakes, I know it. That's just part of the process as well, or not mistakes per se, but things are going to go the way I wasn't expecting it, and there are ways that you can correct those, and I'll show you as those happen. So there we go. Okay, here I am continuing. I'll be darkening in the areas that I want to have highlighted in the sepia. I'm just getting some more color paint. For this I'm trying out Ecoline sepia. I'm just gonna put this here. Again, I'm trying this out, Ecoline 416, which is sepia. Using this to do my outlines. Get some water. take some of that off. I'm using my Silver Black Velvet number 4 round 3000S. Just loading up. And just going over my drawing. Just to establish some of the darks. You'll notice I'm not keeping completely with my sketch. Making some changes here and there. Some of this will end up getting blended in, then I'll end up going over it again. As needed to darken it in. Take out some of the This brush tends to hold a good amount of water and pigment, which is nice, which means less dipping, loading. Again, this part's just going over the outline. Can be a bit tedious, but well worth it when you're done. Oh, I'm trying something new in this whole process too. I left my drawing underneath, so that if I needed to, for any reason, go back and see some of the darker tracings, like sketch rather, from the bottom. I think it works pretty good, so you can see if you end up doing something a little wonky and you lose some of the pencil marks, you can always go back now. I think I might end up keeping this technique going. So that's basically when I did the transfer over, I just left it taped on the back. So if I need to go back to the light table, it's there. And don't have to worry about it having relined it up. And some of you may be thinking or have heard that tracing is cheating, but I can draw. This, when it comes to pet portraits and or portraits, it's always good to have a base, especially if you're going for a realistic look, and that's what the client expects or you want. It doesn't have to be the client. It can be a personal piece. It just allows you to get the exact details and personality or likeness down. It's okay to turn your paper around. It gives you another perspective too. The masters, oops, I didn't like that. The masters use tools. And the light table and tracing is just another tool. And ultimately, most people just care about the outcome, not how you got there. Yes, for the artist, it's the journey. Alright, just loading up my brush again. Try and use a light touch for wispy details. Use the tip of the brush. It's okay to make some mistakes or heavy-handed touch to it. Or just what we're doing here is just setting up some lines. Bringing the shape together if you can. Keep your paper towel handy in case you need to wipe. This part can be therapeutic. You just drawing, painting, establishing the form. You can see every now and then I kind of make a blotch, but it's okay. It'll get blended in. And then if you need to reestablish it when you do your finer details at the end, you can do that. Spin this around again. With the brush you can do things you're not going to do with a pencil, which is thicken up the lines as you go. Give it a little more definition. Add some more water to this little thing. It becomes the more you paint, the easier it is to do the process, and you kind of feel it as you go. It's okay to experiment and change things up. This guy here, this area is going to be more of a burnt, not a burnt, a raw sienna, yellow ochre. Probably more of a yellow ochre with some burnt sienna in it. I'll have a list of the colors before I start that I ended up using. This here section is white, but I'm going to be throwing in this. Will help establish some of the shadows. It's not completely white, but you'll end up blending this out, or at least, you know, that's my plan. Whether it happens or not, we'll find out. This is the top of the nose. Again, if you want to see the details around the nose, I'm turning on my light box. I suppose if you wanted to, you could use the actual reference photo under here, but here I'm going to do a bit of a wash. This will establish the overall dark tone when it's dry. Kind of like I did up here with the eyes. The nose is black, so I'll be going over this anyway. Actually decided to do this. And then you can take your paper towel, dab it back a bit. This is just giving tone to the paper. I'm going to turn that off again. There's a little bit of darkness going on up here. Again, setting some tone. That will get darker every layer you put down. Well, one thing I've noticed with this liquidy watercolor is it bleeds up the ferrule. And you notice I'm jumping around. That's okay. It's just another way of establishing an overall feel. If you focus on one part too much, you tend to lose some continuity. This way here, you can look at the whole thing until you get to the detailed parts, and then you're obviously gonna jump in and focus. And just kind of keeping this wispy. This will get blended in. Especially on this one here, where there's a lot of whites in this section here. You want to look at the reference photo as you're doing this, just to make sure you're getting the area that you want. To establish some tones as you move through the painting. Again, this is a stage where you're going to change up a few things as you go. It's okay. And as you're painting and you're putting the stage in, if you want, if you need to, it's okay to dab. Only issue with going with this tone is when you're on your finger and paper towel, it looks like nasty. Probably want to make sure that you don't leave these lying around in case somebody sees them and wonders what's going on with you. And then ask all kinds of questions. Is there okay? No, I don't need to see the doctor. At least not for this problem. This will be blended in. Sometimes you're going to get reference photos that aren't the best. And that's all they have. That's kind of what this one falls under. I'll be showing it obviously as in one of these corners. I haven't decided where yet. That'll be in the editing process for this video. But you do what you gotta do, and how your job process is to take something that's not that great to work with and make it a masterpiece, I suppose. Shelties are very furry dogs. Fluffy. Add some more water. Mix this up so it's not so diluted, but it has enough pigment. Has to be a process in between here that there's some drying time. I'm bouncing around, giving certain areas a chance to dry so I don't overwork it too much, and just adding some tones now. The darker tones. This part here is where a good photo would have come in handy. But again, that's all they had, so you're going to want to look at dog noses and how they're supposed to look. All right. And doing a bit of scumbling, dry brush action going on here. Just kind of set up a few texture spots. Just moving pigment around. Right. I'll go back over here. I'll try and convey some fluffiness to this guy. Oops. Right there, I didn't like how that happened. It's okay. Watercolor can be tricky, but also the challenge is part of why I love watercolor. This area is going to be a dark tone from the reference photo. Watercolor takes patience as well. You're going to need some dry times in between certain stages. Alright, this part's almost done.